Hello, everyone. I'm Arlene Smith, and this is Healing the Hearts of Healthcare. Join me each week as we journey together to identify how you can heal your heart from the great sadness. Because the pandemic changed everything for healthcare workers, and you're a healer, and you need to heal your heart so you can continue to do the great work that you were meant to do, which is caring for people. Each week, we will explore new ways to heal through self-discovery, self-reflection, and self-compassion, to reawaken your spirit and to reconnect passion to purpose. Sit back and relax and listen to these words. Absorb them into your mind and let them settle into your heart to allow the healing to occur. Hello, everyone. It's Arlene Smith, and it is Healing the Hearts of Healthcare. Welcome back. I am so glad that you are here, and I am super excited about our guest host today. This is actually someone who is near and dear to my heart, probably one of the smartest people that I know in the world. So I'm super excited that he's actually joining us today, and he's actually doing very similar work that I'm doing, but in the field for teachers. So John, before we get started, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your background and just, your book is here. This is one of like 4 books, but this one is amazing. You sent it to me and I was like, I have to podcast about this topic because there are so many great parallel examples, right? When it comes to healthcare workers, they have to teach their patients and provide care. And it's all life is about teaching, right? So let's start by you just sharing a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you. Arlene, I wanted to say that, and to your audience, that we love your podcasts.
Oh, that's so
They're,
great.
the idea of helping healers is
Yeah.
to me the most prime thing. And I do see teachers and medical healers as a very strong cross. My book and my life is about helping people who are helping others. A recent study said that the 2 most burnout groups are healthcare workers and teachers. They need help. We
Yeah.
need help. We are the people who have to nurture to ourselves so we can help others. And that's my main focus. My life has been 50 years in teaching. And
Wow.
that is always what I had been doing. When I'm with students, I make relationship with students. When I'm with teachers, I make relationship with teachers to model relationship with students. To me, that's the most important thing you could ever do. Paying loving attention to someone is already healing and helping. And then what you do after that comes from what I call heart thought.
Right.
So the whole effort that I have been doing, I started out in teaching in a Waldorf school. Then I went to a corporate world. I managed and consulted to the corporate world for several years, 15
Yeah.
years, where I was working with the Fortune 500 about how to teach a person, because you don't want to just give them information. You want to be with the individual. And the corporate world was very open to that. That's very helpful. And then I went from there to the alternative type school where emotionally disturbed kids are coming who are in trouble. Then I went to prisons where people are definitely looking to transform
Yeah.
themselves. And then I went to get a PhD of my own and give myself a little mini sabbatical at 60 years old.
I love it. That's going to be me. I'm going to be channeling you doing the same exact thing. So,
And then the pandemic hit, and that's when I wrote this book. I said, all right, you can make me sit in my house. Okay, I'm gonna write down. And I took the 50 favorite things I ever did from 50 years of teaching, and I boiled it down to 20. And it's the
wow.
20 opportunities that are in that book. They're exercises I've done since 1970 something. And it's like they work now. I'm still in the schools. I'm still giving workshops to Columbia. I'll be at the Holistic Education Conference, International Restorative Practices Conference. I was at the International Studies of of spirituality in studies. And to me, it's very relevant right now if you want to heal people, because it's not just post-pandemic. Our world has gotten faster and a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. There are many people having burnouts and stress and strife and depression. So I talk to them about very realistic studies that are simple. All my exercises are 1 minute, but they all have a back end that has a deep side that if you access it, well, this can work when you're really doing something deep. And that's the people I work with who are having deep problems. But I write the exercises as simple to access quickly.
Yeah, that there's several things that I really love about your book. Number one, like you mentioned, right, the exercises, very, very simple. And what I love about many of the exercises, because as an educator myself, and I'm responsible for education and creating education and content for many of our long-term care communities, I'm always thinking about how do I provide this education in a way that makes someone be self-reflective, to make them pause and look inward and really just let that marinate for a bit. And in sort of in an unconscious way, I think it makes them sort of sit in silence and think, I think I'm going to do that differently. And
Mhm.
this is why. So I love, love, love that that's the same style, because there was pretty much almost every single exercise that you offer and all the stories. I feel like anybody that just picks up the book and reads it, they're going to benefit. And the stories are just amazing. And we're going to talk about some of them because I think when it comes to the journey, in life school, as I like to call it, like we're all here learning, right? Trying to figure out why we're here. But for healthcare workers, right, just like teachers, they have to have like this innate sort of um, feeling, or part of their, I want to say that it's part of their DNA to want to care for other people, right? Because they're total strangers. And just like teachers, same way, right? You're teaching and guiding somebody, and you have to adapt to them, just like healthcare workers. And like you mentioned, our world is a little crazy right now, right? And people are very polarized, and there's a sort of an overall lack of compassion. So I feel like this is the time for those light bearers to kind of come forward, step out from the shadows, and to say, you know what? We are going to do this differently, and I'm going to show you how. So, I want us to start with just sort of the beginning of the book, where I mentioned this to you before because as soon as I got the book, I loved it so much, and I was so fascinated with this very first chapter, which was first change yourself, because it's very simple, right? We can look at our world, and I truly believe this. We are wired sort of with that negativity bias, so we're always looking at everybody else and not ourselves, right? So let's talk a little bit about this, because I really loved how you framed this whole exercise out by shifting people and moving them from their head, to their heart.
Mhm.
And tell me a little bit about like why this was like so important to you.
Well, I put it as number one,
Yeah.
gave it as number one before the book in a request in Columbia University Teachers College. It's 2019. The pandemic has not hit. We don't see it coming. And I'm trying to say, encourage yourself to change yourself. We all want to change, don't we? And I'm saying this in a workshop, and people are very much responding. And now we're going into the pandemic, and they want to do a Zoom, and they want me to give it to a very large group. So it was wonderful. And I reached a large audience, and that I felt very grateful for that. But my conscience is saying, but these people are in serious pain. We have just gone into a pandemic. People don't know if their job will be there.
Right.
And we all know that when they got back to their job, it was harder than the one they left. And we can
Yes.
kind of surmise that. So I was trying to speak to that. So I told a story. I said, look, what you want is to look at yourself, not the other. Here's a tiny example. And my 1 minute exercise should not be taken too lightly, but do it lightly. Do it whenever you feel like it, as often as you wish. But I said, go look at a person you can't change. Look at a situation you can't change and say to that situation, if I can't change that, can I change me as how I meet that situation? And I said, here's the key. And this I've done for 50 years, but it also comes from the ancient texts of wisdom. I don't know anything. I just
You
read
know a lot. Don't
other
teach
things, and,
yourself. You
and
know a
I
lot.
try it. And if it works with real people, exactly.
Right, right,
So
right.
I said, try it. Picture the person or the situation that you cannot see changing, you don't know what to do with. The one that it's a door that is closed. Don't keep knocking on that door. Don't do the same thing in the addictive professions and AA and all those. They say what's insane is to keep on trying the same method to fix the
Over
old
and over,
problem.
right? Yeah, it never works,
Well,
right? And it just makes you insane,
and
right?
we're addicted to the head. So
Yeah.
the move is from the head to the heart. What is the heart thought that is not the head thought? I'll keep trying the same thing. Well, the heart thought is maybe something can work. And the key there is something.
Yeah.
Ever. It's precisely what you do not see yet that might be the thing that works. So your belief in a possibility might move you to see something new that you haven't seen before. And
Correct.
the exercise is see something and say to yourself, here's the problem. Is there a chance this can work? And if you can say yes, and maybe even move to, I think I see it working. Not
Right.
you see what you are doing. If you see what you're doing, don't look at it. If you ask the question, how do I do it? What's the plan?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. The will wants to see what you're doing. The plan is that's the willpower. The head wants to see what is the plan. Head, will. The heart just wants to know, is it okay? It's the health caregiver, it's the teacher who just says, we'll fix this. This will be okay. Somehow this can be okay. Go to that space. And then later, after you've done the exercise, then say to yourself, maybe you've done this without a worker and you go into work tomorrow. Maybe it's a patient you don't know what to do with, a student if you're a teacher. Wait till tomorrow.
Right.
Maybe when you go in there, you'll see something. Maybe you'll get an idea tonight. Maybe you'll have to wait. Wishing and waiting for whatever. My 3 W's are the key. Wish, wait, and then get ready for whatever, because it might be what you
I
didn't.
love it.
It's new. Wait, wish, wait, whatever.
I love it. So I mean, I think when you think about this, why this is so hard for us as human beings, right? I mean, some of this has to do with like the way our world is with technology and the way like I feel like, we're all sort of programmed to just have 50,000 things kind of hitting us at one time, right? So it's really hard to stay in that still, soft silence. And then that like supercharged ego that we have, right? You know what it's like, right? It means that we have to like leave that at the door. And for some people that are here in life school, that's going to be their biggest journey.
Yes, I totally agree. We're addicted to the head and we're addicted to high energy. Everything now is instant gratification, fast response, lots of things happening means good.
Right.
And so if I don't feel good right away, what do I do? And that comes from the head. The head asked for emotional as opposed to deep feeling. It asked for action
Yeah.
as opposed to, well, can we just wait and see if something happens?
Yeah.
I know a group that did this in Toronto on a consultation my good friend was doing to a Waldorf school where they couldn't figure what to do with a student. So one of the people who was very wise on the board, it was not one of the leaders, it was just a very wise person, said, can we just close our eyes and picture the situation, not what to do. Picture the problem child. They they did, and very creative offerings came into the room. And
Mhm.
you have to ask, if you're very deeply religious, spiritual, or hopeful, you have to say, where did those ideas come from? That's a good
Right.
question, but don't worry about that.
Just
Just
allow them to flow.
give a little space for something good to come in. And there's the waiting. And then the whatever is, you not form your opinion ahead of time of what the solution should be, because you very well could close off what does come in, and maybe that was better than what you thought. So
Yeah.
you give it a chance, and it's a hopeful process to say, I'm going to do this little exercise. Maybe something will happen. That right there, you're in a
Yeah.
little better frame of mind than complaining and getting it off your chest and feeling worse after you complained.
Agreed. Agreed. Now, I love in this book, I want to talk a little bit about the true teacher. And I love this because I really, really think, I think my son sent me an article just not too long ago, and I wish I could remember what it was from, but it said one of the most underdeveloped characteristics when it comes to us as human beings is our ability to listen,
Mhm.
right? And when you think about it, um, it requires the person to be able to slow down their pace enough to almost really surrender to a moment in time when you're having an exchange with another human being. And some people are really good at it. Some people are working at it. Some people are horribly terrible at it, right? And you know the difference between it when you're in the presence of somebody that can't really listen. And I think about this idea that you talk about with the true teacher of the difference between telling, like telling I became a teacher, listening I became a student, thanking I became a friend. And then I woke up to find I was truly teaching. And I just absolutely love sort of this. And so this is a story that you talk about in 2007, when you were in China. And I was so fascinated with this story because I think it just really resonated with me because I love studying different cultures and I love studying and understanding. And I remember I went to China once, for work, and I remember doing all this prep work just so I can make sure that, I was handling things appropriately and I was aligned with their culture and I wasn't doing anything that was offensive at all, So I knew that there was some prep work there too. But share with us this story because I think it's so fascinating and I think it just has such meaning to sort of the work that we all have to do to heal our own hearts and to get to a point where we're really living our best self.
Uh, Thank you for the question. And Arlene, I got so much from your podcast on compassion. I felt there was a very strong cross in this story and that. When I was in China, we one of our first things that we wanted to teach them, we were in the Shanghai Institute of International Studies, and
Mm,
they were people coming from all different provinces who didn't know each other, of all ages, and we wanted to show them not the language of English, but the attitude and the way to negotiate yourself if you start dealing with the West, because there was an opening up that caused this course. And we went over for 5 weeks, my son,
mm.
myself, and my brother-in-law, who was a principal of a school. My son was a PhD student, and myself. And we had a ball for 5 weeks. We're teaching.
Wow.
And the first lesson we gave them, second day, actually, second lesson, was how to do a debate. And we said to them, oh, yeah, in America, we're very good at debating. And we can argue for the whole year. And so
Right.
you have to learn how to do debates. If you're going to go to the West, there's going to be negotiation of prices of things, of just negotiation of life. So we developed this lesson, set up two groups, put them at round tables, and had them start discussing their separate viewpoints. And we said, this is going to be different than the other viewpoint, and you're going to have to argue for your side. And
Yeah.
man, we're I said, oh, we're too good at this in America. Yeah,
Right.
this is well before it became a crisis. But so
Right.
now I access this exercise all the time. I'm watching them. They're discussing things. And there are from 12-year-olds to, I have a mother and a doctor at the one table. I have other adults at the other table, all the way down to high school, college, and grammar school students mixed. And they're listening to each other. They're actually, their body posture said it all. They were
Mhm.
listening by leaning forward, and you knew this was not an act. Nobody, they didn't care who was watching. They wanted to hear what the person who was speaking
Right.
was saying. And I was overwhelmed. It, it was so moving to me. I had to move to the back of the room to, I was crying a little bit. And
Yeah.
it was just incredible. And now the debate starts. And
Right.
I'm thinking, well, what's the real teacher? A real teacher, a true teacher can learn. They model learning in front of a student. I hope I'm a real teacher. I'm going to a foreign culture. A real teacher learns from a student. You exemplify, you model that which you wish them to do. You
Right.
wish them to learn? Well, then stand in front of them and learn. Who do I learn from? Well, the only people in the room are my students. So if I could learn from a student, and I believe this has to do with parenting, counseling, healthcare,
Healthcare. Yeah, definitely.
oh my God, marital relationships, all
Everything.
those relationships, the second you get in relationship, the give and take is you just changed me. The thanking that you get inside your heart because you're actually getting something from the other has to come as a natural response, real, because you really got something from them. So I'm standing in the back of the room saying, I hope I'm a good teacher. Let's see if we can do a good job here. I taught them how to debate. Let's see
Right.
if they can debate. They go to debate, and it was terrible. It was the worst lesson ever. The one group would say something, and the other group would listen to them and go, huh, that was a great idea. And then the other group would say, and I would go, I'm standing there, no, no, you
Time
gotta
out.
argue. No, knock them down, fight with them. And I'm trying to coach them, and it was a bust. The
Right.
whole it was a total bust. And then I sat back, and I remembered the beginning of the lesson when they were listening to each other. And I said, well, that's all. They were doing that throughout. It was supposed to be a debate, but I said to them, look, I'm an old guy. I've studied for a while now. I know about the middle way. You're teaching me the middle way, but you are really doing it. You were really living. You were modeling the middle way. I
Right.
have heard of it. I have read books on it, but you're living it. You
Yeah.
just moved me. I am not the same person I was at the beginning of this day. I learned some, and I could honestly say it. It just came out of me, and then I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I'm a good teacher today."
You
It's
felt
right
so
there.
good. But, it makes me think so much about healthcare workers, right? I mean, honestly, every single patient that they care for, right? I mean, the interaction is so, so important, right? The slowing down, the listening, the like paying attention to all of it, not just like, the words that are being spoken, but like what are the messages behind those words? What's the body language? How do the eyes look? Like how are people like listening and responding? And I think where we have the greatest opportunity for healing is really around communication and the way in which we use our words. And just being more mindful sometimes that, words and tone and, our spoken sort of statements and declarations, they carry immense power. And I think sometimes that gets forgotten by the person that
Yeah,
is in that moment, right?
yeah.
I
Oh, I
think,
so
yeah.
agree. I mean, where you are is a giant statement to them. So if you're
Right.
with them, they feel it. They may then take your model and open up to the healing.
Right.
John, my son is a neurobiologist, and he's also a PhD. He's a PhD MD, and they get at UCLA. They get a lot of cases that comes into his superior that he works for, that have been sent to the Mayo Clinic and around the country, and nobody
Right.
can solve the neurobiology problem. And
Right.
he gets a lot of wounded warriors. They get
Right.
a lot of sports, head injuries, concussions. So at the beginning of any case is something that they don't know how to solve because nobody else could solve it. And so their job is to first work with the patient. And the goal is the patient open? See if the patient is open to the possibility of the next thing that they try. This is huge
Yeah.
because a lot of times, especially after something is serious trauma, serious depression, long-term strife, not a little thing happened for a short term, long-term strife. How do you get to that person? It belief is a piece of the healing. I'm not going to
Mhm.
say, oh, I know for sure that's all there is to it. It's a panacea. Just get them to believe they're well and they'll walk out tomorrow. But it is a part of the problem if
Yeah.
they don't believe they will heal. So your relationship with them right away is paramount.
Yeah. And
Then
you talk about
there's,
that in the book. I mean,
yeah,
you talk about that in the book, the role of belief.
yeah.
And I love this statement. Well, there's a few things that I really love. I love how you say you can't see the next version of yourself from the current version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And that, boy, does that hit you right between the eyes, right? I mean, really, when you think about it, right, you could never see that, right? So, um, let's talk about like that power of belief and what the role is and like how you so beautifully kind of point to it in the book. I think it's just remarkable.
Yeah, that's the button. You just press the button. My son pressed that button at Christmas, the one I'm talking about, and
Yeah.
he, Dad, what do I say to those guys? I can't be honest and say, if you believe it'll all get better, but I know you've taught me belief since I was young, because that's who I am. And,
Right.
I may not know what I'm talking about, but I am true to what I think.
Right. No,
Always
you
been
know
that.
what you're talking about for sure. A
And
hundred
I
percent.
said to him, give him everything you got. There's 3 rules to believe. First, make a wish.
Right.
Don't make a detailed wish of exactly what something could be. It's that it will get better. You leave the door open for how it will get better. Because if you knock on one door, how it will get better may be a different door than you are picturing right now. But knock, make a wish. Do not give up on making a wish. Second, ask yourself if you believe before you go to the plan. Like the
Yeah.
very first chapter, my 20th and my first chapters are the same thing.
Right.
Go to the belief and the commitment and the do I, Joseph Campbell, do I say yes to the adventure of life? If you say yes, is there something good here? Maybe the good will take care of me. I think good is God, but everybody has a different name and a different way of thinking.
Right.
Is there something that could be good here? And then go to whatever does happen and go with it.
Yeah.
Wish, but believe, whatever. So wish, wait, and whatever, the 3 W's. And
Yeah.
I said that to him at Christmas. We had a serious discussion. The whole family gathered together at Christmas, except my one son couldn't come, my daughter. But I had half the family was there.
Right. Right.
That's how it goes nowadays. And they all came for our 50th wedding anniversary. But at Christmas,
Oh,
we had half, and I said, I've got nothing better to give. I've lived what we're talking about. And they all knew that's the truth. I said, see if it works. Try. Live that maxim. And work with your patients and lose everything that you know in your head. He's a genius.
yeah.
He went to school for 13 years. He better have learned something.
Yeah, he's so
But
smart. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes and imagine yourself being transported to a beautiful sunny place where you're standing on top of a hill in front of a beautiful row and rows of blooming lavender. Imagine for a moment the gentle warm breeze wrapping around your body, the sweet fragrant smell, and the sounds of nature surrounding you. Time is just standing still, and you are in the moment. Can you feel it? it feels amazing. That overwhelming sense of tranquility and peace. Don't you wish you could just bottle that up and keep that feeling inside of you forever? For centuries, lavender has been used for its remarkable holistic properties to soothe the mind, relax the body, and promote a sense of inner peace. Hickory Run Lavender Farm has discovered the power of nature, and they now want you to experience the incredible benefits and uses of lavender. Nestled on a hilltop in the beautiful Pennsylvania Pocono Mountains, Hickory Run Lavender Farm makes handmade products carefully crafted to enhance your well-being and promote a sense of calm in your life. From handcrafted soaps and soothing body butters to aromatic bath salts, Hickory Run Lavender Farm has everything you need to create that calming oasis right in your own home. And after a hard day at work, you deserve a bit of self-care. Hickory Run Lavender Farm is more than just a farm. It's a community of like-minded individuals who are tapping into nature to seek balance and harmony. Are you ready to transform your life and discover the power of lavender? Well, visit their website at www.hickoryrunlavender.com. Explore their online store, check out their events page, and more. And if you have questions, you just simply need to hit the Contact Us section of their website, and one of their knowledgeable and passionate staff members will respond to guide you through your lavender journey. But I will tell you, when I think about this, because I do think about this idea that, I was just having a conversation with someone about this literally yesterday. And I remember one of the things that this person said to me is, when I was young, I used to wish and wish and wish and wish and wish for things, and nothing came of it. So it kind of like destroyed my desire to ever want to wish for things again. So when I think of people in this world, right? I mean, that's our reality, right? There are people that seem, like they wish for things and it comes to them, and there are people that wish, 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 and nothing happens, right? So to that person that really wants to see change, and they want to make change, and they want it to be better, but they, God, they just have a hard time getting behind that idea, because something up here in this brain is just constantly just putting that self-doubt in. What advice would you give to somebody?
It's a matter of left and right brain. Left brain, head, right brain, heart.
Right,
Head and heart. Don't wish with your head, wish with your heart. Your
right.
heart, if you were a mother with
I
a
just
baby,
love that.
wish
I
for
love that.
what they're going to become. You don't have this specific plan of what they have to become. If you do, that might be inhibiting to the child. You wish for them to become themselves. I used to teach to my students in I had a physics course that ran for years and years, and we always had too many kids that would come into it. And I would say, don't I see you starting to follow me. They start to like you after a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
all want to be. I said, don't become me. Become you.
Yeah,
Wish with your heart, and you have to do it even for yourself. You cannot have wishes for yourself. You have to be the mother that held you when you were so little you didn't know how to wish. And you have to be that to yourself and nurture yourself and wish the best for yourself of whatever you're going to do next. And if you put a label on that and a category on that, you may not get to see what it is. You keep knocking on the wrong door. You don't see the door down the hall that's open. That's better than what you could have wished for,
yeah.
but you may not see it. So you have to wait after you go through that door. You have to
That's so
wish,
true.
you have to wait, and then whatever comes may be really good if you make the most of it. It's up
Yeah.
to you. Might change it 16 times in there.
Yeah. And it's like what you nurture, right? Like what you nurture, you will nourish, it will become like nourishment to you. So like sometimes again, that just means that like in life school, like we have to practice. That's why patience is a virtue, right? It's not something that like all of us are coming to the earth and we're like really extraordinary at. We have to work at this so hard, right? And just slow down that pace and just really just try to force ourselves to look at it. So I love, love, love that model. Um, there's a story in this book that, well, there's so many stories in these books. That's what I love because you're an incredible storyteller. Like there's just, the stories are just really, really good and they connect to the concept and the idea. But I have to share this because it speaks volumes to me, and the chapter on teaching yourself. And you say you have to transform yourself, take care of yourself, and love yourself. And the beauty and the irony of it all is that this is easier than not doing it. And I love, love, love that. And so you share this old Cherokee teaching. And I want to share it because I've actually shared this before in a previous podcast, but I feel like it's repetition. It's meant to be shared again because you actually I'm going to first share the actual parable, and then I'm going to share the way you interpreted it, which I think is probably one of the most beautifully written things that I've seen in a long time. So this is actually a story. It's an ancient Cherokee legend, and it's called Two Wolves. And I love this. You say in the book, an old Cherokee was teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It is a terrible fight, and it's between two wolves. One is evil, and the other is good. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person, too. The grandson thought about it for a minute and then he asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? And the old Cherokee simply replied, the one you feed. And I absolutely love this, but I want to follow it up by what you wrote, which was a new version. And again, you wrote this. My new version of this legend is a little different because it kind of came to you after teaching emotionally disturbed New Jersey high school students, and then in the Chinese school system, and then in the prisons in North Carolina, and then teaching children of incarcerated individuals. And your thoughts sort of shifted a bit. And I love how you wrote this as two wolves with the numerical number two, right? So it says, two wolves live inside of me. One is trapped, the other is free. The two of them just want to be. They fight sometimes, now good, now bad. The trapped one wants what the other had. I feel this fight when I am sad. Grandpa said, watch who you feed. He will win. He'll take the lead. I hope someday that both are freed. Wow, that is so powerful, John. I mean, it's really remarkable. I wrote like in the margins, love, 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 love this because I really do, right? It's just a reminder, like we really have to think in life school, like about every single thing we do in every single situation, which is hard for some people, right? I mean, you've seen this even in like the prison systems, right? So, it's just it's it's probably one of the most beautiful things I've read in a long time, and I really hope the world just like absorbs it all in because it's just so fascinating.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. You also tell this beautiful story at the end of your book about your grandson and the cake.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just so cute, and I thought it was just, again, I think some of the things that really fascinate me about life and life school is the differences of the way we look at the world as children versus adults, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Oh,
And that's why, we're always encouraged to be childlike and to explore the world with like, awe and curiosity. But why don't you share that story? Because I just think
that-
it's just so cute and it's fascinating, but it really makes one think,
yeah.
right? So, yeah.
All right, sure. Well, I mean, all my stories are light and silly or
Yeah.
fun or humorous or you can play with them, but they're all deep. The real thing
Very
I'm
deep.
really saying every time is something I heard from some deep source. I read across many, many ancient texts. So that my study for the PhD was all about intuitive education. I studied so many ancient texts that really I'm always looking at something as what it is right now and what
Right.
it is in a larger context. So that's what happened to me when my grandson, Nick, he's my first grandson. He's now 24 years old.
So
I
funny.
had grandchildren.
Crazy, right?
Oh my goodness. I'm getting old. And he's having a birthday cake that he's old enough to understand. We're saying, Nick, today's your birthday. We're going to have a birthday cake. Your cake. We're going to have icing on your cake. We're going to have candles on your cake. You can have your cake. And what we don't realize is that he's hearing, it's my cake.
Cake. Yep. Yep.
It's
That's
a,
the message,
no,
right?
the group gets together. There's like 20 people in the room, and the
Right.
adults are all excited. They're all, oh, happy birthday to you. And we're singing, we blow out the candles, and his mom has him in her arm. I can still see it. She's cutting the cake, and she takes the first piece, and he's watching it with giant eyes. And then she hands it to the first person in the room, and his face goes from incredible excitement to utter tragedy.
You're
He, for his
just like we
little,
are as humans in life,
I know.
right?
For his young age, that's trauma.
Yeah.
That's complete depression and strife for his age. So we're thinking, oh, how cute that is. And the room is all laughing because she quick gives him a piece of the cake. And in about a minute, he's in complete bliss. He's okay again. And
Right.
so I reflected on this so many times over my life because it was a picture. I got the picture while I'm watching him that day, but then I kept reflecting on it. So it had to make it a book. It's the conclusion of the book.
Yeah.
I said, is it possible that we don't minimize and trivialize the incredible difficulties we have right now? I mean, when we work with hard people, they're hard.
Yeah.
The situations are really hard. There is serious trauma. The suicide rate is up higher than ever. The young people's suicide rates have exceeded their rate of death by automobile.
Yeah.
This these are very important things. This is not funny and this is not fun. However, there are clues to childhood, not because they didn't understand anything because they're before the school of hard knocks. It's because there's an innocence and a belief that ultimately things are good.
Right.
That gone away? Have we lost that lesson? Is it not true that as you get older, things might be ultimately good? What really is whatever maybe could be good. So I watch Nick. He goes to happiness, and I look around the room. Nick is in a room of support. There are multiple beings around him. Are we surrounded by angels? Are we
Yeah.
surrounded by friends? Are we surrounded by coworkers, support networks, family that really have our back? Is it really true that we're alone when we're lonely? I don't
Right.
think so. Is it really true that we're separate, or are we connected? Which is the truth? And this child who knows nothing, he hasn't been through the school of hard knocks. I think he's the model. He's saying, "Oh, I get a piece of cake and I get to
Yeah.
eat it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, everybody have as much as you want. It's delicious. I have my cake. I can eat it too. My mom is holding me in her arms
Yeah. Yeah.
against her breasts. I am in the best
Yeah.
place I could ever be. Is there anything better? Is he wrong?" And we learn in life that that's not the truth. Or are we wrong because in life we have the hard knocks and we start to believe it's not true? Which is
Right.
true? If you can hold on to a possibility,
Yeah.
maybe things are going to work out.
Yeah.
Maybe things are good. It's the world is actually good. You could be Nick again. You can access childhood, whether it's your childhood, the childhood of man, humankind, or the child that you see walking down the street tomorrow. If you can access that, look hard. Maybe there's your way out of trauma and strife, and it's not a trivial solution. Maybe it's as deep as and as wise as anything else.
Yeah. It just points to a couple things from that story that I really love that kind of resonated with me is number one is, the power of love, right? Again, the fields are not very different in the sense of like, healthcare workers are healing people and they're taking care of their health, school teachers are teaching people, right? So very equally, again, self-serving love. You have to love what you do. It has to be wired from within for you to actually do it and do it really well because it comes from a place of love, right? And I want to believe that the more we can show love to one another, the better we're all going to be. And I think that's a huge opportunity for the light bearers, I think, in this world, the people that are like, that's it, we're going to make change, right? And we're going to support one another. We're going to, like, that was the whole reason for healing the hearts was because, myself personally, I mean, I went into a very dark place post the pandemic from what I experienced. And, even now, it's just taking me some time to get even back onto social media and to like start getting right back to where, life is living again, right? And we're all present. And that is so true for so many healthcare workers. It's the same thing, right? It's we've returned to, COVID is still here. It looks different, but we've returned to something that is certainly much harder, just like you said with teaching. Like it's so much harder, right? Because you know our country and our world and the way people are responding to one another, there's no love, there's no compassion, there's no patience, there's nobody really modeling it really well. So I think that's one, is love is a beautiful message from that. And the other thing that I think that you really struck on that I think is so powerful is support.
Yes.
And just think about how poorly that is sort of orchestrated. I used to educate all the time on team formation and the importance of team formation and bringing people together. Like human beings don't naturally just sort of come together. We need support, right? We need leaders that come, bring people together, focus on the things that we have in common, and really create a safe, psychologically safe space for people to operate. Right? I mean, that's really where I wish we could get to. But when I think of those two things, I think so much of that story.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for people to rise up and say, all right, yeah, I'm calling an audible here, right? I'm going to say time out. Like, we need to do this a little differently. And we definitely need to advocate for a more supportive environment. I mean, we're working, let's face it. I mean, most people are working more at their jobs than they are at home.
Yeah.
That's the God's honest truth, right? So if it's not supportive and if you're not feeling like you can be the best version of you, I mean, how much are you really going to bring to the table,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
I we I don't know how your time is. It's about 7:15. Is it?
Oh, we've got
If
plenty of time.
from what you're saying, we there's a chapter, an exercise number 5 where I say points of view. Access
Yeah.
a point of view that you thought you couldn't believe, that you did turn on that idea. And what happened when you turned? Was it better or not? It was really the door down the hall. And the real example is my wife. My wife, Wendy, in 85, she has an accident. We're paddling down the river for 2 days straight, and she pulls her back. But we think it's going to get better in a few days. 2 years later,
Mm,
1987, she's still in bed for parts of the day.
right.
1988, she's in bed all day. It has gone out. We have now seen a neurologist. We have seen a chiropractor. We're now starting to really look at what's going on with her back. I mean, we were all alone, but now it's not getting better, and she's
Yeah.
getting depressed and upset by the whole thing. In that same year, I go to start working for myself, which actually turned to be a great thing, because my office was in the bedroom and I could rub her and do things for her.
Right.
Then my son gets bitten by a dog, has to
Mhm.
go to the hospital. And what should have been like a couple of days, because it was a nasty infection. Okay. Shouldn't have been a hospital in the first place, but he really got a nasty infection. I don't know why. And so we had to go to the hospital. It was all of a sudden getting very inflamed. She can't go to the hospital. So I go over to the hospital, but I have a brand new company startup that doesn't have clients yet.
Right.
I started it without the clients because I had the
You knew
potential.
it was coming.
Well, no, there was a giant client. It was Bell Labs.
Yeah.
They were going to give me $80,000, and the department came apart as I left.
Yeah.
So who knew? And so now I have no future. I'm in the office. She's with him, but he's in the hospital on the phone. I have to go over and back to the phone, and he gets a staph infection and stays
Mm.
5 weeks instead of 3 days.
Yeah.
He and I put a chart on the
I
wall.
love this story. I
Oh my
love
God.
this story. Ugh.
But we put a chart on the wall for every day he's going to be there because
Yeah.
quarantined, he couldn't see any of the other children, anything else,
Right.
except me. I'm allowed to come in with the nurses and the doctors, and my wife couldn't come anyway. So I was inside the quarantine. I was allowed. And so we made a chart on the wall of a new game that has never been played on the earth every single.
I
That's what.
love this.
And,
I
and
love
so
this story.
he
Yeah.
said, "Oh, what are we doing tomorrow?" I said, "We got to look at the chart because
Right.
you invented them. We made up these games. He would name these things, and we would do them." Then my daughter gets Lyme disease. It's before Lyme disease. You didn't see the little spot in the circle.
Yeah.
They didn't know the medicines to do for.
Yeah.
So she's now going through her school with an IV. She has to walk an IV
Ugh.
down the halls of her school. And now my wife gets seriously more ill and is now in bed all the time. So my children, my son comes home from the hospital, who was there 5 weeks, and my daughter with the IV, and my other two, I have 4 children,
Yeah.
and I are cooking, cleaning, going to the sports events, and taking care of mom.
Yeah.
I'm starting a company looking for a client.
Yeah. Right. You're like,
I
oh,
find a client.
can we stack any more stress on this situation?
Oh,
Right.
get
Yeah.
ready. I find a client, GE Information Systems. They're going to send me to 7 cities: Sydney, Australia, London, England, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, San Francisco, someplace, Washington, D.C. I think that's it. And I'm going to make a tour. I'm going to make so much money in 1 year. It could take care of everything. And then my son gets cancer. My
Mm.
other son, he
Yeah.
gets acute lymphocytic leukemia, ALL, before they know protocols. And so my wife and the doctors, nurses, his wife, my wife and his wife start taking notes. Her book was as good as the nurses, of all the things that happened and all the cases.
Yeah.
It turns out he's in intensive care for a week. When I get this contract, I have to give it up. I give up the contract. I set up a cot in his room, and my wife can visit the hospital, but she can only come and lay on the chairs in the waiting room and then go home. We have to drive her home. So we always had to have a driver so I could stay over, so I could stay with my son. It was like,
Yeah.
we're going crazy. We're going crazy. For the first week, he was intensive care. We didn't know 50-50 live or die. Then
Right.
now the good news is he's out of intensive care, but we give him a 50% chance of living for the next 3.5 years. We'll know in 3.5 years. And we don't even know how to put that into
Yeah.
your mind. You don't know what to do with this. So I'm staying in his room. She's staying at home. Now the other 3 have to do all the cooking,
Yeah.
cleaning, taking care of mom. Forget sports events.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to get rides from all the friends. And,
Right.
well, I'm not coming. Mom's not coming. And so now we're just barely making it for the next 8 weeks. And I finally get home. And now Wendy feels a little bit better, takes care of him a little bit more. And for the next 7 years, cannot get out of the chronic pain.
Yeah.
Now she hits rock bottom. It's worse in these 7 years because now the thought is, I can't get out. And
Yeah.
she's my model of points of view. She now has a point of view. She said, I can read you the quote of what she said to me.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
that time, she said to me, and I quote, "I was lying there and I heard the word grace." This really happened. It was like a word she heard inside.
Yeah.
And I felt I was given a spiritual help to deal with the situation at hand and let go of the results. The help was not the end result or the logistics. This is why I came up with this whole thing. Don't look for the end of a wish because of her. It was that I was taken care of and I could let go.
Yeah.
She had lost her whole ability to be the mom, what she defined
Yeah.
as we had the old school. She would stay home and do all the things with the
Right.
everything like that. And I would go, whatever money I made, that's how much we lived by.
Right.
But I did some jobs. But then she goes from 1991 to 1996. She still has the chronic pain. From 1997, she gets breast cancer. She's
Right.
a cancer survivor. But
Yeah.
in her own words, said that was not as dangerous, meaningful, scary as 10 years ago
Yeah.
when all
Yeah.
the kids are going crazy and everything. We went, our bank account during that time went down to $250. We cashed in all our stocks.
Yeah.
We owned a mortgage on a car, a
Yeah.
mortgage on the house, and
Yeah.
nothing. We
Yeah.
have $250.
Yeah.
And then she gets the cancer, she heals it. And from 1998 to the present, she still has the pain. And if you ask her today, I asked her before this, and I'm going to ask
Yeah.
her before the workshop I give to the holistic conference next month, later this month, I'm going to say, well, how do you feel about your back? She thinks it's going to get better. She said, it's a temporary problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Since
The way she looks at it, right?
1985, it's a temporary problem. And her picture is,
Yeah.
it's not that you make a wish and it gets the specific thing, the outcome you picture. It's that you feel taken care of. And she does. She actually feels taken care of. And to me, that's the model of what to do with depression and trauma and strife. It's to go back to
Care for, yeah,
all things
care.
for good.
Yeah.
And you, I don't know how much you know her. I mean, Gary, your father-in-law knows.
Yeah.
It's and Charlene, our dear,
Oh, I know, my dear Charlene.
they know Wendy, and
Yeah.
she is a model of it's
Yeah.
gonna be okay. It's
Yeah, our
okay.
family lines have crossed for many years and we never know why, but I feel like it's like a big part of this is absolutely for this moment in time, right? And I feel like you and I could talk for hours and hours, and I'm definitely want to have you back to talk about like some of your other work. I love, love, love the books and the references on the books on fables, like your fables. So I love that, and I'm always fascinated with that. I think writing for me has been like a really good outlet for healing. Like just getting words down on paper and just having that faith and trust, like it's gonna be okay. And I think your story about like everything hitting you all at once, like my hope and wish, like as a nurse educator, is always that people never forget, like people literally live with chronic conditions like all the time, and nobody knows what that's like, but the people that are living it, their families, the financial burdens, like all of it. And it's very easy to be transactional and forget that important piece. And so that's a real call to action for all of our healthcare workers. Like we need to like make sure we slow down and recognize there's human beings in this equation that need to be cared for and loved. And because they're healers, like that's their perfect job.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to have you back. But before we end our podcast, John, tell everybody like where they could get your book if they want. If they're like a nerd like me and read everything, which I do. I'm reading like three things. There's always 3 or 4 books on my nightstand. And my husband says to me, how do you like not get them all confused? And I'm like, I don't know. I love books. I just could
You're
spend all
amazing.
my time reading books. So yeah.
What you do is amazing. I look at what you're doing and it's like say, oh my goodness.
Oh, get out of here, John. You do amazing work too. So tell everybody like where they can get your books.
So on my website, bickart.org, the last name.org, it's
Yep.
free. But
Okay.
but you can go to Amazon, and that book is on Amazon. If you like it in paper,
Abs-
you can go buy it at
Absolutely. The people that like it in paper. And the most important piece of this that I want people to remember is we take lessons from other areas because as healthcare workers, like we have to always be thinking of other areas, right? And this discussion around this book and the opportunities to really look and reframe teaching and look at it in a different lens through storytelling and one simple thing that you do. And literally, many of the things in this book are literally like 1 minute. It takes 1 minute to do. So that's why I love it, because it's like simple and fast. So, John, I just want to say to you, God, it was just like settling back. I haven't seen you in forever, and it was just like settling back in old times. I want to come down and see you because I'm looking at that really comfortable place, and people should know about John. Like, he's really extraordinary. His Not only is his wife talented, I have to have her do a water painting because I see the beautiful work she did for my mother-in-law, and when I look at it all the time, I'm like, I just love it, right? But John, you whittle this wood, and I bought a whittling kit, and my husband made fun of me, um, and I couldn't whittle it at all. So it definitely is a gift. It's not something that you can easily just pick up. So you whittle these beautiful angels for people, and these beautiful. I You did something that was so beautiful, and I gave it to one of my dear friends, Claire. And I love the fact that you are constantly learning in life school, and that it just gives me such great joy. Oh,
Thank you
just
very
warms
much.
my heart.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah. It's just been an honor. And I look forward to us meeting again. And I just want to end by saying, if you don't hear it enough, thank you for everything you do every single day in caring for human beings. We know how hard this work is. We know how meaningful it is. We know how much healing you need. But take time out every day to find those quick moments, right, where you can heal your heart through very simple exercises. So, thank you, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you on a future podcast. Goodbye.
Thank you.